DILG secretary.
The DIL, was it the DILG secretary sworn in already earlier?
Oh yes, my apologies, Mr. Chair.
All right, thank you for that, bringing that one down. And now we shall hear the opening statement from the Lieutenant General, Vice Chief of the Armed Forces, if I'm not mistaken. Lieutenant General Potato, please, you may take the floor.
VC or here in game?
It depends on you, sir.
All right, give me a moment. I'll do it here in VC. The armed forces of the Philippines are prepared and are ready to defend the Philippine country as a state, as a nation, and its government. Now, regarding the Antarctica incident, due to the fact that members of the PSG are members of the AFP, the attacks that have happened to our own men in the AFP, which we are still investigating, we do not have conclusive facts to settle down what has happened yesterday, well, more of today, 12 a.m. We are still currently investigating what happened. As it is, I'm also the head dev, so I'm also investigating what went wrong in terms of gameplay. So for the time being, I am still trying to investigate what has occurred. That is all.
Lieutenant General. I would like to bring forth again to the body that this is not a trial per se to condemn armed forces of the Philippines for their actions. We know that there are different circumstances, especially when under fire, what would happen. Uh, when you are under fire, adrenaline kicks in, and the goal is for you to survive and to just fire back. Even though we have our set protocols, our rules of engagement, I am quite sympathetic to any issue that may bring forth of any members of the armed forces being under a potential threat and a valid threat. But however, we are here to talk and to see what we can do in aid of legislation so that we would avoid any future instances or brushes with diplomatic entities. Now, may I proceed to our colleagues? First will be Senator Jethro.
Hello.
We can hear you, Senator.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chair, and good evening to all of our colleagues and to Mr. Potato.
Good evening, Senator.
So, my first question is that is it really necessary to declare a red alert and mobilize the troops in front of the Antarctic Embassy? Because that might just show aggressiveness in our part, since, as Foreign Affairs Secretary Domingo de Valera said earlier, what happened was wrong. The storming of the embassy was wrong. So, what's your take on this, Mr. Potato?
I also agree the storming of the embassy was wrong, but due to my men's what do you call that? You know, the feeling in combat essentially. So due to our due to the members of the PSG, members of the AFP, it is obviously clear that these men are always combat ready. So when it came to the combat, their first idea was that who shot, what did they do, did anyone get downed? Next, secure the air, prioritize eliminating the threat, and figure out what's going on. As of the moment, I do not know who shot the first shot, but my men, the members of the PSG who are also in AFP, have informed me that the Antarctic embassy personnel shot first, and I'm also aware that the Antarctic embassy personnel had had confrontations with said men and were getting on the embassy grounds. I'm also aware that nobody really made it clear until later that embassy grounds were on that marble floor, which that is the embassy as it is. I am not sure what really occurred, but our men shot back from what they know was a threat, especially since the presidential suite was right across the street.
All right. Thank you very much, Mr. Potato. And that's all, Mr. Chair.
Mr. Potato would like for parliamentary inquiry. I would like to ask, are the security forces of the Antarctican embassy allowed, or do they have in their set in their gears the inherent arms or guns?
Necessarily speaking, that is a gray area. Because I've closed down the gun store as head dev because of the DFE's order, the Antarctican embassy's been borrowing weapons from the AF. From not the AFP, I'm sorry, from the PNP. So you will have to inquire with the PNP regarding that. As head dev, on the other hand, I let this gray area occur because, for one, I did not want to necessarily argue with the with the facts that they don't have weapons, and I refuse to give them a team in game, aware that they may abuse that team in the future.
Um, as another parliamentary inquiry, what do you recommend for the Senate to legislate when it comes to allowing or disallowing foreign embassies to have armed personnel?
I am not against foreign embassies and foreign bodies of diplomatic purposes to have arms, so long as they are not in the unnecessary armed state where it is high power military grade weapons. I'm fine with them having pistols, I'm fine with them having carbines.
All right. Thank you, Lieutenant General. Uh, you would like to proceed with Senator Alejandro Valera.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. Before I proceed, I would just like to point out that Senator Communism has disconnected and she is currently rejoining. Now then, once again, I would like to reiterate the statement of Mr. Chair earlier that we are in no way here to condemn the AFP. In fact, we believe that the AFP did their duty to the best of their abilities. Okay, so we are not here to impose guilt on anyone because again, we are not a court. We are Congress, and we are here to figure out whether there were any lapses in our own regulations and what we can do about it. Okay. Now then, Mr. Potato, General Potato rather,
Yes,
I
Senator?
would I would like to ask now. So the members of the PSG are they in any way sort of educated in terms of law, especially international law?
They are aware to an extent, but I'm not sure 100% if they are always aware of it, since these members of the PSG are also frontline troopers of the AFP. So clearly, things may be forgotten along the way.
I see. Now, my next question is now there were well, according to the screenshots that we received um as evidence, as mentioned earlier in the session by Mr. Chairperson, supposedly, according to the screenshots, the president ordered the PSG to storm the building. Can you confirm or deny this?
I have no ability to confirm or deny it as of this time, since I have not received the evidence, nor I have received the orders from that statement. I have not even checked the chat logs at that time, so I do not know what really occurred that day, since it was that time, because it was 12 a.m. and, well, clearly not everyone's in their right of mind when it is 12 a.m. and something like that occurs.
See. Well, let us assume for a moment, let's assume that what the screenshots say is correct. That it is true that the President of the Republic of the Philippines ordered his presidential security group to storm, okay, to storm the embassy, and in the process killed and arrested the sovereign of Antarctica. Do you think there were any lapses in this situation?
Definitely, considering the fact that the president himself should know diplomatic protocols, especially since this is an embassy we are talking about. Now, if the embassy in one hand decides to attack first, that is reasonable grounds for the AFP to defend the country, due in part because of a foreign power shooting its weapon or attacking a personnel, or basically attacking the country itself using their embassy.
I see. So you mentioned in your statement earlier that supposedly the Antarcticans fired first. Am I correct?
Yes, but this is just hearsay from what I've heard from my men. I am still investigating it.
I see. Now, earlier today, General Gregory enlightened us about a certain individual who was dressed supposedly in Antarctican uniform of sorts, and they apprehended that man together with the PSG. In fact, it was caught on video, the arrest of that person. However, um, according to the testimony of General Gregory and the video, it would seem as if that the supposed Antarctican fired first. However, the issue is we were not able to identify the individual. It was only assumed due to the uniform of the person. Do you do you think that this individual is what the PSG were referring to?
I believe so. And considering that the Antarctican uniforms are put behind a group door, I have reason to believe that that person is 100% somebody from the state of Antarctica.
See. Now, I would now like to bring your attention, or rather the entire committee's attention, to some screenshots that were given to me. Now, this was, I believe, um, during the storming. Yes, during the storming, where it seems that members of the PSG were climbing on the embassy. They, the sovereign was clear was that I will send these pictures in the commons in a bit, but I
Thank
will
you.
describe it first. So the first image shows members of the PSG, I can assume, are climbing on top of the embassy, with one of them holding a sign that says, and I quote, "Stupid diplomat inside." The next screenshot is at the facade of the embassy, where there's a crowd of people and members of the PSG, again with the sign "Stupid diplomat inside." And the king is clearly protesting their presence, telling them to go out. The third image shows the king handcuffed, and in front of him is also a PSG who is also handcuffed next to other people. The next image is nothing of consequence, nothing important. Then this next image is very concerning to me personally. So the king is handcuffed, correct? Is handcuffed, and he apparently handcuffed another person before that, or
It
rather,
was
ito.
another PSG personnel he handcuffed. The one
Yes,
who did the stupid, what do you call that, stupid diplomat thing.
yes, and it says based on this image, around four individuals who I assume are part of the PSG and the PNP are all pointing their arms, their
I'm sorry, you
weapons
cut
at
off
him.
for a moment. Can you
Yes,
repeat
hello.
yourself? Can you
Yes,
repeat yourself? Yes.
hello. Yes, based on the image, four people are pointing their weapons at the king, who clearly cannot let go because he was also handcuffed. All right.
Yes,
So, how would you respond to these troubling images, which I'm now going to be sending in comments?
I actually saw most of the incident myself, but half of the time I was AFK or dealing with people in my DMs at the time. So I am somewhat aware of what happened. I cannot say for certain what really occurred, considering the fact we are also considering that the president himself possibly ordered the storming of the embassy. At the same time, we are also aware that these personnel of the of the PSG were not say attacking the embassy with firearms, but more of being a general nuisance to the embassy and its grounds and its staff.
I see. So, do you agree then that there was clearly a lapse of judgment in these images that I have sent?
Yes, absolutely, I agree with that. In that regard, because I
That
am aware that though the first incident of a shootout occurred, there were no reasonable grounds other than petty revenge to storm the embassy, to be a general nuisance to the embassy, and to end up having this what they said yesterday was, and I quote, a double hostage situation.
I see. On that note, we have also received word that supposedly the president framed the king for this hostage incident. Are you aware of this, or do you have any information on that matter?
I am aware that the embassy staff, which was the king himself at the time, arrested one of the PSG guys for being a general nuisance on embassy grounds, and as such, he had the right to remove him. But as I have recalled, he brought him inside for a moment and brought him outside, and then somebody handcuffed the king. So you had two people handcuffed, and that causes a chain where people, can't be released.
I see. What do you think the president was ever involved in this whole matter?
Considering he was on the ground and I saw him, there's a likely possibility that he was the one who ordered it. There's a likely possibility that he neglected to understand the situation and to order his men accordingly.
In your capacity as the lead developer, do you think that there is any way to confirm this?
As of the time being, since the server has been shut down, there is no ability to confirm this other than with personal proof from those who were around the president at the time and possibly the PSG chat and cabinet chat and certain people's DMs.
I see. I will I will now be proceeding to my final line of questioning, Mr. Chair. Um, in the memo released by the Department of National Defense, it was mentioned that that will be put on high alert. If I'm yes, and that troops would be deployed to Manila. In the words of the secretary, it was first tier troops, if I recall correctly. What preparations are now being made by the AFP in response to this memo for red status?
The AFP has been prepared with its men to rapidly respond and also provide assistance to those who are willing to help us join in response to this, especially including the PNP staff. As it is, the first tier units are more of the same members of the PSG, which are are very much capable in combat and leadership. As such, I am for the time being ready to enact plans to basically surround the embassy and to also defend our sovereign territory for the time being if this diplomatic incident does become a war.
So you are saying that we are preparing for war against, let's assume, the entire ASEAN, since it seems to us, based on the testimony of the Secretary of Foreign Affairs, that we are losing our allies quickly.
And I have no doubt that what's going to happen, considering the diplomatic incident, which, to be frank, quite made no sense.
I see. So, since you have established that we are clearly in the wrong, would it be safe to us? Would you think it would be proper for the secretary and by extension the president to release any statement on the matter, to
Yes,
apologize or
absolutely.
anything? Yes, please go on. Sorry, my apologies.
Absolutely. Any statement whatsoever regarding the incident so they can clarify the situation and not further the series of confusion which was the basis of this incident to begin with, since there was a shootout and that caused confusion. So as this clarity is very much needed right now.
All right. Mr. Chair, I would just like to point out that we're witnessing the same story being told to us by our previous, that we are seeing an absent president who has not made any formal statement on the matter, who continues to be silent, who continues to be distant in a time where his voice is needed. As you have mentioned earlier, Mr. Chair, it is common sense to make a statement about this, and we are seeing it once again with his own cabinet. His own cabinet is now being forced to stay silent. They are being compelled to stay silent because their own boss is also refusing to say anything on the matter. He is allowing the situation to worsen and worsen.
I would agree with that statement, considering I was his vice president and I managed most of the coup negotiations that completely blew up in my face. And as of the time being, I am still recovering what assets we can get from those who've left us.
Thank you. Mr. Chair, I yield my time. Thank you, Thank you, General Potato.
Thank you, Senator. Thank you, General. General, if I may ask, if you were in the position of the president, would you give a vague statement as right, let's go, and you are asked for tactics?
Wait, give me one moment, and then
Sure, sure.
yeah, give me one moment. I have to go AFK for a bit.
All right. So we'll go on recess until the general comes back.
Pardon me for that.
All right, we're
may
back on
you please
session.
repeat the question?
Yeah, I would
Chair.
like to ask if what would you have done differently if you were the president? Especially, you were the vice president before all of the drama that happened this past month. I'd like to ask you: would you give a vague statement as, and I quote directly the president? Wait a sec. I will be quoting the president directly here, as to not confuse anyone that I am words in the mouth of the president. So,
What
would you
words in the mouth of the
uh,
president exactly did you
uh,
say?
here? Would you give a word as such as I'm good when you if you are the president and your soldiers are asking if they want If you want to resort to tactics and storm the embassy,
I'd have analyzed the situation and see if Antarctica is truly trying to be the aggressor in the circumstances that understandably happened yesterday. No, I'm sorry, today. Uh, Considering the president did not immediately analyze the situation and order his men to stand down and just surround the embassy regarding the crime of just a random shootout, and subsequently, I do not know what happened with that Antarctican personnel, so I do not know what actually happened on the Antarctican side currently as well, so I still have to investigate this. But but the president himself could have at least ordered the PNP and the PSG to just surround the embassy for security purposes, for both the embassy's sake and for the public's sake. Instead, what occurred was more of a standoff and escalating tensions to the point where shootout and hostage situation occurred. And since there is no statement from the president himself regarding what happened, I do not necessarily believe that he is in the best of abilities for the time being to properly manage the situation unless he makes a proper statement to explain what happened and did he or did he not order the PSG, which is his personal guard, to storm the embassy.
thank you, Lieutenant General. Now I would like to ask Senator Com. Senator, you have the floor.
Is Com typing in game? Okay.
All right.
Negative for the time being. I do not have any records on that, and I'm not sure if the PNP has been asked this question. If you ask this question to the PNP, they may be able to provide something to you.
Right. Right, Senator. Thank you for your inquiry and your question to the Lieutenant General. I think that we're all set. This establishes that the president did nothing, but to release a vague statement of good, which the PSG took for as a direct order to storm the embassy.
May I,
And
Mr. Chair,
sir,
may I see that
it's
order
sent.
of the good?
It is sent in the Senate, in the Congress Commons. In general, just back read a little bit there, or I will just I will here. I just sent it, and I'm going to tag you. That is all. I think
Yes, yes, that is a very much vague statement from the president.
I think if that is all, we may now release the Lieutenant General. If there are any objections, hearing none, we thank the Lieutenant General for his time. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, senators.
We now call on the next resource person. He will have 15 minutes, 13 minutes. He has a curfew at 9 o'clock. I think senators that we could postpone this if I'm very sorry for Kapitapitagan. He as if he would have to. Uh, okay, so said no. So could we proceed, sir? We will be watching through the comments for the secretary.
I will not object to continuing, Mr. Smith.
There are no objections to continuing. Uh, if I may ask our senators to keep the line of questioning the minimum. Maybe a question or two.
Yes, yes, Mr. Chairperson.
All right, so we shall now call over the secretary. He is on Discord. He'll be typing there. Senator Valera will ask the questions first.
Thank you. Now then, Secretary, Mr. DILG Secretary. My first question to you is, where were you during the events that unfolded in Metro Manila? You were asleep. So then, when you woke up, were you briefed on the situation? I see. So upon your briefing, um, what then were your next plans of action? What was your plan now that you found out na nagkaroon ng shooting, nagkaroon ng storming ng embassy, nagkaroon ng issue? What's your plan now? Such as? Could you please be specific, Secretary? I see. So after that, I will now read what he is saying. I did some digging at first, but I eventually was briefed by the PNP chief and the president. My plan is to take the necessary action on PNP side. First, doing an investigation to say also the Antarctica side of story. After that, I will consult with the PNP High Command for further actions regarding the PNP officers involved. Would you agree then, na at this point, do you agree na there was clearly a lapse of judgment that someone, if I may be allowed to curse once again, Chair.
Right. This in order.
Yes. In my words kanina, do you agree that we fucked up? Both sides fucked up. I see. So you are saying that the PNP was also at fault in some way or another. In your opinion, yes. So we see here that the secretary also believes that fault during this entire situation. I see. No further questions. I would like to yield my time back.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Senator, Mr. Senate President. Honorable communism is recognized. The information of all, the session is currently in the Discord server of the Senate of the Congress. Thank you.
Mr. Chair, let it be noted that Senator Communism has asked her question in the chat, and it reads as Mr. Secretary, I'd like to ask, what was the specific information you were briefed upon by the PNP chief and the president, and had you known the full story at the time?
Please note that the Secretary has already responded. It reads, I was briefed about the standoff between Antarctic Security Forces and Philippine Security Forces. Did not full the no, full, did not know the full story since everyone was still asleep at the time. The Honorable C. Undersir Communism has responded. She says, Mr. Secretary, when do you intend on meeting with the PNP High Command? That's her next line of questioning. That the secretary responded that we can do that. They are already discussing some stuff in our PNP High Command group chat. Not sure when though, as I'm on Roblox mobile. Senator Communism yields her time. I would like to thank. I would no longer have any other questions for the secretary as he has a very tight schedule. His um, curfew, and I would like to thank him for attending. He is now released if there are no objections. Hearing none, the Secretary is hereby released. Ask my colleagues in this esteemed body, His Majesty the Monarch of His Majesty the Monarch of Antarctica requests to be in our presence to explain the side of his
I do not object, Mr. Chairperson.
uh, Senator Com. I do not object. So the Sergeant at Arms is directed to summon the King of Antarctica via DMs. Julius.
Mr. Chair, I put forth a motion.
Yes, Senator.
I motion that we be put on recess until such time that His Majesty responds or arrives.
Are there any objections? Hearing none, the motion is passed. 1 minute long recess, a very long minute recess. Ay talaga? Oh my God, we have a committee room pala. Oh, there's a PP over there.
See conflict DMs. It appears that His Majesty the reigning monarch of Antarctica has arrived in the Congress Discord VC.
Right, that is duly noted. Do I get up? There. The reigning monarch of Antarctica has arrived. I would like to request everyone to settle down. The session is back in the committee hearing is now back in session. I would like to call onto the stand. I would like to request Senator Alejandro Valero to administer the oath to the King of Antarctica.
The Sergeant at Arms is directed to escort His Majesty to the podium. Wait, in-game ba siya?
In-game siya. RC.
Oh shoot, wait, let me bring him. My apologies.
Okay.
No, Julius pala, sorry.
Okay. Here we go.
Your Majesty, please raise your right hand. And please repeat after me. I state your name.
I, Julius the First,
Do solemnly, sincerely, and truly declare and affirm
do solemnly, sincerely, and sorry,
do solemnly, sincerely, and truly declare and affirm
do solemnly, sincerely, and truly declare and affirm
that the evidence I shall give
that the evidence I shall give
shall be the truth,
shall be the truth,
the whole truth,
the whole truth,
and nothing but the truth.
and nothing but the truth.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Thank you, Your Majesty.
Now that His Majesty has been sworn in by um, the committee, we would like to remind everyone again once more that this is not an incriminating conduct of trial. This is in need of legislation, and that we are the king is gracious enough to accept our invitation to speak in our hallowed chambers as regarding this incident. Not another incident like this, and so we would like to clarify whatever our side has said and whatever the side of the opposing party is having. With that, I would like to ask His Majesty to give his opening statement and an opening account.
First, I would like to thank the Senate of the Republic of the Philippines for for accepting my plea to be in this chamber in order to explain the side or the perspective of the Antarctic government and its personnel. I am here to represent not only the government but as well as the personnel, the duly noted personnel involved, such as Mr. Tanjiro. I believe that this incident was caused at first by a lack of communication between the Presidential Security Group of the Republic of the Philippines and the government of Antarctica, especially its Antarctic Security Forces, during its first encounters. The first encounter resulted in the death of Mr. Tanjiro and possibly Mr. Colsign Metal or Mr. Clandestine. It is unfortunate that the first incident has occurred, but I would like to clarify before beginning that the Department of National Defense, the Secretary of National Defense, in fact, came to the embassy personally to discuss the boundaries of the Antarctic government in its embassies and the incident that has occurred. Before the succeeding events that led to the diplomatic incident had occurred, uh, the Department of National Defense has assured that the personnel would not uh, go beyond the bounds. So, provided that the Antarctic personnel do not go beyond bounds. Um, if there would be any questions, I would gladly answer them here today.
Thank you, Your Majesty. The Honorable Senate President, will be asking his question.
Yes, hello. Once again, good evening to Your Majesty. We thank you for accepting our invitation to attend here today. My first question to you, Your Majesty, is can you confirm or deny that there indeed was a member of your security force that shot and killed certain officers? I would, before you answer, I would like to present to you video evidence which was forwarded to us to the committee um, during earlier today. I'll be sending it via DMs. This video labeled as Exhibit A: Murder Recorded with Medal.tv.
I have viewed the clip that was sent.
Yes. So can you confirm or deny that that is one of your own men?
I can confirm that the uniformed personnel in green is one of my men, and his name would be Mr. Tanjiro.
I see. So then, who started the engagement? Was it you, or was it members of the Philippine National Police?
I would like to clarify which incident. Would it be the one in the clip presented?
If you both the one in the clip and the one in the embassy.
The one in the clip was, according to Mr. Tanjiro, one of the events. There were previous events which led to that clip happening. If I may explain his side.
Please go ahead, Your Majesty.
With the ratification of the Philippine Antarctic Treaty of McMurdo, the embassy was formally established around the 20th of November to the 21st of November. And since that time, the embassy was attacked um, on a in a near daily basis by various armed criminal groups. In which case, there is a tent in front of the embassy which apparently belongs to the PSG. And apparently, criminals funded that tent in order to hide themselves before shooting other security personnel on duty. And thus, it led to the first incident wherein one of my security forces personnel, Mr. Tanjiro, as said earlier, shot either Mr. Clandestine or Mr. Call Sign. I am not entirely sure. It was only one individual. But regardless, Mr. Tanjiro shot a member of the PSG, thinking that it was another criminal who was there to shoot staff of the embassy. And then, as far as I can recall, according to Mr. Tanjiro, that another encounter within the embassy, Mr. Call Sign or Mr. Clandestine, whoever it may be, coming from the PSG, uh, did a retaliatory strike on Mr. Tanjiro and killed him on the embassy, which prompted Mr. Tanjiro to approach the local police available, which was at Fusion Motors at the time, which led to the clip which was sent to me in the DMs today.
I see. So are you affirming that the PSG did assault the embassy more than once? Is that what you were saying, Your Majesty? That there were two assaults on the embassy?
In strict circumstances, there was only one assault, which was the retaliatory assault. The first encounter with Mr. Tanjiro was one of lack of communication between the two governments on who would be deploying and which team would be deploying.
I see. Hmm. Interesting. Now then, let's move on now to the images that shows you being arrested. I sent it here in the comments and I'll be tagging you in a moment. Please give me a bit to back read and here. I, yes, starting with this image right here. I will be tagging you, Jewel RC. Here. Can you please comment on this series of images that you see here?
In the first image, wherein there were a few individuals, namely A ALXIAAA, waving a sign which says "Stupid Diplomat" inside, while stepping on embassy grounds. Same with Mr. McCoy Larry, who did not wave any sign, and Mr. Potato Blocks, who waved a sign, though I could not see what were the contents of it. Um, this transpired late into the night, or should I say early in the morning of in Philippine Standard Time. That This was in large part uh, the doing of the PSG, and even after calls to step away from the embassy were made, they still proceeded to trespass and infringe on the uh, how do I word this? Infringe on the embassy, the rights of the embassy, which is said to be inviolable according to the Treaty of McMurdo.
I
In the
see.
second, sorry.
Please proceed. Please proceed.
In the second image, we see Mr. Callsign, Mr. ALX, and Mr. Potato Blocks, and including Mr. McCoy Larry within embassy bounds again, including Miss or Mr. Lemon Choker. I am not sure. Uh, Miss Lemon Choker, as far as I can recall, is part of the media, if I'm not mistaken. The order to get out was directed to Mr. Callsign, Mr. ALX, Mr. Potato Blocks, Mr. McCoy Larry. Basically, anyone who was not part of the media. All of them were directed outside and yet did not follow any of the instructions presented. On the third image, this was due to me personally using handcuffs in order to grab the personnel. First, I grabbed, I believe, was McCoy Larry. Contrary to some beliefs, I did not, in fact, arrest them. I just escorted them using the handcuffs outside. After I put them outside the embassy, I removed their cuffs. And the photo before, the third photo, was one where I was cuffing Mr. ALX in order to escort him outside. And I was cuffed by, I am not sure if it was a member of the PSG or a member of the Philippine National Police. Needless to say, even if I wanted to release the person, I personally could not due to in-game limitations.
I see. Can you confirm, Your Majesty, that you were indeed shot, killed PSG, PNP, um, during this entire situation?
Sorry, excuse me, I lost connection for a moment.
Oh, my apologies. Yes, as I was saying, Your Majesty, can you confirm or deny that you were shot and killed by members of the PSG and or the PNP during this entire situation in the embassy?
During my time at the embassy, I can fully confirm that a member of the Philippine National Police did indeed storm the embassy multiple times while when I drove to the embassy. I went inside, then the personnel proceeded to give chase and shoot me right after. I can also confirm that um I believe it was either two or three occasions that members of the PSG did indeed shoot me within embassy grounds.
Point of clarification and parliamentary inquiry, Your Majesty, I would like to ask, what was the reason you were chased when you arrived at the embassy? Did they give reason, or they were just having fun, if so to speak?
I believe the root incident was when Mr. Ryan Daizezu requested asylum and did indeed go to the proper channels of the Antarctic government to seek asylum. In which case it was granted by the ambassador, which was me, since there was no extradition treaty nor any reason for Antarctica itself to reject the application of asylum of Mr. Ryan Daizezu. He was accepted duly. Then After a few moments and a few chats, I believe, a member of the Philippine National Police proceeded to enter the embassy without permission and arrested Mr. Ryan Daizuizu and proceeded to bring him to the police station. And being the only one of the only personnel available there, I had to uh, I had to get the refugee or the asylum seeker back. Um, I did give chase to the PNP personnel, ordering him to let go of Mr. Ryan Daizezu as he was already under the protection of the Antarctic government. And yet, these warnings were not heard, even if it was said multiple times already. And,
All right.
sorry.
Please continue, Your Majesty.
By the time I reached the end of the road, nearing the intersection going to the Philippine National Police Station. Um, I did fire 2 shots or 1 or 2 shots on the ground in as a sort of warning shot. And right after that, I was immediately cuffed by a member of the PSG. I'm not sure if I have screenshots of the incident, but I was indeed cuffed by a member of the PSG. I was dragged back to the embassy, in which case, my gun was still uh, my gun was still on when I was cuffed. And as it is perceived to be a threat to the sovereign, I did pull out my gun once again and I was about to order the PSG personnel to explain himself when I was shot. That was the
You
incident.
were deliberately shot on. Excuse me, Senator Ryan. I'm already trampling on your time, but I would like to pursue this question if you would allow
Please
me.
go ahead. Please go ahead.
So you were deliberately shot by men of the PSG, and the PNP deliberately entered the complex or the embassy without prior notice or without even without the without the necessary protocols, and then you fired warning shots. Were you intending to kill, Your Majesty?
I did not intend to kill at the time. It was only meant as a warning shot.
After you discharged the two or one or two shots, what was the reaction of the person of the people who were pursuing Ryan?
This
Uh, Miss After that warning shot, I did not actually know that there were people behind me. I just noticed that my inventory disappeared, indicating that I was cuffed from behind. The PNP personnel in question did not even stop to look at me and proceeded to walk to the station with the asylum seeker.
So who is this? So you were cuffed inside your embassy.
No, the cuffing took place outside the embassy while I was being pursued. While I was pursuing, sorry, while I was pursuing the PNP personnel who took the asylum seeker away from the embassy.
So you were outside embassy grounds. You were clearly marked. Were you clearly marked as an embassy official or as a diplomat or as a person in authority of an allied country?
I believe I was wearing the proper uniform at the time, a uniform similar to this but without the aguilettes and my ceremonial saber.
All right. Thank you for that. For answering that. Would you be able to identify which police officer cuffed you?
Yes, I am able to identify the police officer. I'm not sure if he is in game, though. Yes, he is indeed in game.
This committee is allowing the resource person to name the said police officer. Your Majesty, please name the person.
I believe that person is Mr. West Bing X Hampton, also known as Mr. Ukrainian Trucking.
Thank you, Your Majesty. Um, Dr. Valera, if you may continue to pursue the questions.
Yes. I am now proceeding to my last line of questioning, Mr. Chair. So I would like to ask you now, Your Majesty, what your response is. Now, we established earlier in this committee that it seems to us that the president has been very unresponsive He has not released any statements on the matter, and neither has his cabinet. We are witnessing a president who is being very distant and seemingly incompetent in a time where we need his voice. There has been no public statement that even acknowledges the entire incident, save for a very short interview, and as and there is no formal apology when all the previous cabinet officials have agreed that there was indeed, at least in part, some fault on the end of the Philippine government. How would you respond to this, Your Majesty?
I am not entirely sure what is ongoing on the public sector with regards to the presidential response. He did, according to the United Kingdom, he did, or at least the government did, in name, uh, agree to discussions or agree to a mediation with the United Kingdom as its host. In fact, there are discussions ongoing right now to modify the current treaty that we have, and I do not believe that there was any apology mentioned in these discussions, nor any responses to the, I would not like to say demands, but rather response to the requests of the Antarctic delegation.
Excuse me for a while, Mr. Your Majesty and Mr. Senator. This esteemed body will not be called as an attempt. This meeting, this committee hearing will not be called as an attempt to impeach the president. That is a contempt of this body. I'm ordering the Senate Sergeant at Arms to arrest Blitz del Pilar for contempt of the Senate.
Here, here.
This hearing will not be called as such. We are here to find out what the hell happened. If none of you were trigger happy, if none of you did anything to jeopardize this country, we wouldn't be here in this session. I also would like to have arrested in contempt Ukrainian Gaming. Arrest them both. West Binghamton person. The Senate Sergeant at Arms is directed to inform the Philippine National Police that these persons are subjected to arrest, to a warrant of arrest by the Senate committee, by the Blue Ribbon Committee for contempt of the Senate.
If I may inquire, Mr. Chair, where were these utterances made by the?
These were done. The first one from Blitz del Pilar was done in the Congress Commons. The next one
Yeah.
was done here. Uh, the West Binghamton person is speaking, questioning the line of questioning of this esteemed body.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. May I now proceed with my final line?
Yes, you may proceed.
My
Please
final
eject.
question.
Please,
Yes.
excuse me, sir. Please eject this person here. Eject this West Bingham. Eject him from the Senate.
Now then, Your Majesty, my final question to you, I would like to ask, what are we have revealed in this committee that it seems to us that the president ordered his PSG to supposedly assault the embassy. Do you think that this was the case, Your Majesty?
Based from any intelligence that I have gathered on that day itself, it would seem to be the case. But I do not wish to accuse the President of the Republic of the Philippines of any acts as such. All this information was just given to me by anonymous individuals, as it did concern the safety, my personal safety. And if it were to be the case that the president did order the raid into the embassy, it would be an insult of the highest order.
Thank you. I yield my time, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Senator. Uh, I apologize if I lost my cool because of I do not want this body to be called as, uh, as a impeachment court. We are not an impeachment court. Well, not yet. Um,
Yet.
Not yet. The term is yet because there are no impeachment. The president has not been impeached in the lower court. We do not see him being impeached in the near future unless we are only asking for accountability of the government here. We are doing our checks and balances. We are doing our checks and balances here. They are submitted. We, all of us here who are serving in government, must submit to checks and balances. And we cannot be called that. Because if you are going to call everybody that is looking for checks and balances, I do not know what else we would be doing here. I might as well have something that you're fearing. Diba? You don't want a dictatorship, you don't want a monarchy, but you don't like checks and balances. You want a
Here.
monarchy. You do not want you do not want a monarchy, you do not want a dictatorship, you do not want a socialist state, you do not want a totalitarian state, but you do not want to be checked. Are we here? Irks me. We are doing something here for the sake of democracy, for the sake of our country, so that no one else would fuck up. Accusing this body of politicizing, of politicking. To rejoin us for this for this session because her parents suddenly arrived and popped off from out of the blue. Uh, if there are no objections to the release of His Majesty from this esteemed body, he is now hereby released and may now be escorted out of the floor by the Senate Sergeant at Arms. Thank you, Your Majesty.
Thank you as well.
Mr. Chair, since we have exhausted the list of our summons, I motion that we adjourn this session.
Prior to the adjournment, a committee findings report will be released in the coming days after we consolidate all evidences and everything that we have. If there are no objections to the adjournment of the session, the session is hereby adjourned.
Amen. Commanding General of the Philippine Army, arrest him!
H.
Ukrainian Gaming!
Tangina, sinong sumigaw, bobo?
Hindi po ako.